we want to not attack somebody's character. And so our example of this that we gave is Russell M. Nelson, so prophet and president of the Mormon Church, told a story about a plane plunging to its death. Now, for the source material, we are going to refer you to Mormonism Live, episode 033. This is President Nelson's flight of death. So if you are curious as to what story we are talking about, or you want the source material and the research and the data, hit up Mormonism Live, episode 033, President Nelson's flight of death. Now, the synopsis of that story is, and I remember they made a Mormon Messages video about it. So President Nelson's like flying in an airplane. If you could see me, you'd see my arms are out like a little airplane, like I'm teaching little kids here.
So cute.
Aw, thanks. And an engine blows and the whole wing catches on fire and the plane is like spiraling out of control, going to death. And at the very last minute, the captain does something miraculous.
The very last minute, but...
Right. I think he actually said in the last minute or whatever.
Anyway.
Pulls out of a hymn.
All the details of the story are
Sarah
not...
exaggerating right now? I might be.
Well,
all right.
And not so much exaggerating as that the story had, and this is the whole point, right? The story had a different impact on you than it did on me.
Right.
And part of it is your struggle with... Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause you there, babe. So let me finish my thing. So... In the moments before hitting the ground and crashing to their death, the captain does something miraculous. They pull the plane out of its tailspin nosedive, land in a field, and it's this miraculous thing. And President Nelson talks about how he was calm and ready to meet his savior, and the poor, unfortunate, simple-minded woman next to him was having a full-blown panic attack. Again, source material... Mormonism Live, episode 033.
Make of it what you will.
Right, make of it what you will. This is how I want to demonstrate not attacking Russell M. Nelson. If I came out and said, Russell M. Nelson is a bold-faced liar and cannot be trusted, I'm attacking his character. Unpacking Mormonism's goal is to not do that. However, I can take the observable patterns and run that through my internal filter, and Sarah Westbrook can say, I grew up in a home. So this is what, Mason, what you were getting at before I so rudely gave you the timeout signal and shut you up there.
Don't get ahead of the story, right?
Right, don't get ahead of the story. So for Sarah Westbrook, I grew up in a home where if you didn't exaggerate, you were not heard. So in my culture, in my own home environment, that once again was very abusive, if I wanted my parents to pay attention to me, there was an element of exaggeration. And then I got punished for it. And subsequently, because of that pattern from the time I was itty bitty, it took me, I'm going to say, into my late 20s and early 30s before I had really mastered the art of calling out myself when I was exaggerating to change the outcome of a story. I had to be really careful with what I was saying to doctors in order to get care for Brig. So when somebody exaggerates their story and they don't own it as part of the story, like exaggerating and embellishing is a beautiful thing to create more life in a story. But when you're presenting that exaggeration as factual for the story, in the way that I feel President Nelson did in this story on multiple occasions, that's a huge trigger for me because I get accused of doing that and then I get punished. And then my experience is that people shame me. And then I have to fight my own, as Brene Brown would say, my own shame gremlins in order to deal with that. And so when I discovered that the evidence presented, the evidence that we have about this incident on the plane does not match the story that President Nelson presented as factual truth, I, Sarah Westbrook, do not feel that I can trust Russell M. Nelson to be an honest man. Now I'm going to turn this same story over to you, Mason. What was your take on this story?
My take, I think, is what was intended by the story, but that's again just the way I see it. The idea was that faced with difficult or scary situations, in this case, the what was presumed to be a very possible death, we want to be prepared for that. Like I want to be able to be calm on the plane and just go, you know what, I'm okay. I'm happy with where I am. You know, maybe I'm not happy about death. My fear of death is not about death itself, but about what's going to happen to my family if I die.
Right.
But I want to be in that place where I can be calm. I can recognize that God has me no matter the outcome of the situation. And so, and again, you know, the triggers, the things in that story that are triggering for you are not triggering for me, but they're triggering for a lot of people, right? A lot of people are having an issue with this story and some of the other stories that have been told in the past. And so I recognize that as well too. Like I get why it's disturbing. It makes sense to me. And for me, I prefer and have chosen to see it from the perspective of what I believe the intent was.
That it was a good story to drive home a spiritual lesson of, if I'm doing the best I can and my affairs are in order, I have no reason to panic in the face of death.
Right.
That's what you got from the story.
Right. Yeah. That's
and
pretty
for
much
me, I don't feel that Russell M. Nelson is credible or trustworthy.